Hey guys, I just realized before rendering though that later on in the video, I'm going to say that it's going to be a disbalance, this new system being placed in Paladins. It's unfair because somebody who's the same rank as you might climb because they have powerful cards versus you. That's not actually the case because during ranked, everything is equalized. So that's cool and everyone has access to every card. But the problem is that there's hidden MMR in quick play and there's matchmaking in quick play. And that's where everything is going to be completely disbalanced and completely out of whack and actually literally pay to win. So that's where the game's going to become really unfun, and that can actually bleed into your ranked gameplay because you're not going to be able to practice as well. And if you lose a lot more because you don't have as good cards, then you're hitting MMR. Whenever you do go to ranked, that can affect that as well. So I just wanted to clarify that. So whenever I say that later, that, you know, I do make a comparison with bronze players fighting each other, just imagine I'm saying bronze rated MMR, matchmaking rating, okay? Thanks, much love. See you guys. Hey, what's going on, friends and family? My name is Skylent. We're going to be talking about Paladins immediately, nightly gaming news. But today, for gaming news that we talk about nightly, this night, we are talking about Paladins. That's it. Just that. I want to talk about just this. No deal of the day. No bullshit, guys. Just Paladins. And okay, maybe a little bit of bullshit because I'm just ranting this out. No script hype. But guys, let's talk about some Paladins. Paladins is a game that has been completely lackluster compared to Overwatch, at least. Its main competitor in ways other than the fact that Paladins is freaking free, so a lot of kiddos jump on it. But Paladins is actually a pretty cool game. I've actually done a lot of coverage to it. I did a lot of giveaways, some pretty, like hundreds of dollars worth of giveaways. Thank you, High Res, for giving me those codes, but I'm about to shit all over you, mainly you, actually, not your game. Your game, actually, despite it being almost completely derivative, I think is actually a really cool game. But High Res, holy shit, I've been with you since the beginning, and you have not made great decisions. Smite was a fluke. Smite was a fluke, and I think you actually, in your opinion, you probably think that you fucked up because you gave it a set monetization scheme, and that was it. You couldn't do much more with it, could you? But with Paladins, you wanted to fix that. You wanted to set yourself up real good like, and in Paladins, oh my god, you are trying your hardest to squeeze every penny out of every player that you got in this free-to-play competitive hero shooter. Anyways, so let's get into these changes, shall we? So the news is, and keep this in mind, guys, it's not set in stone. I believe this is not in the game currently, and High Res does have a habit of listening to the community. There's a little bit of tug of war that goes on with a lot of these updates. So this was announced, and the community is definitely roaring here. And essentially what's happening is, actually, if you're completely unknown to Paladins, Paladins is like Overwatch. Think Overwatch, except there's an added layer. There's actually kind of a double layer, but there is itemization. So, you know, you earn points throughout a match and you can buy items. They're really lackluster, boring. It'll be like plus 10% defense to, you know, hit scan weapons or something like that. It's pretty boring. But then the special thing is going to be more similar to the battle rights inside of Battle Right, where before the match, you kind of set out a loadout. And this is going to be done by cards. And these change your character pretty fucking big. You can have characters where they're more assassin oriented, or maybe they're more DPS oriented, or maybe they're more tanky, more flanky, way faster paced, way more survival. I mean, I'm talking about stuff where like you can reuse an ability, it goes off cooldown, or an ability does like double its damage. I mean, it's ridiculous card stuff, right? So before you had to earn the cards, you had to earn the currency inside of the game, and you had to buy these cards. You had to buy these loadouts. And, you know, it took some time. And I think they made the game grindier and grindier as time went on. That's something that I was actually about to make a video on. And then I hear this news where they decided they're going to completely change the system. And I was like, awesome. Yes. Okay, let's make it completely balanced and fair because this is actually a competitive game. Whether you think it's more competitive, you know, in esport compared to Overwatch, doesn't matter. High Res is paying for them tournaments. High Res promotes it, and it actually gets some decent views. And if you saw Smite and a little bit Tribes Ascend, you know, they were kind of escalating their esport, you know, promotions and coverage there. So Paladins actually, with its crazy powerful population for a free-to-play game, it's free-to-play Overwatch basically. It could do pretty good, and it has been doing pretty good. And there is a competitive scene, despite how janky the servers are and how awful the hitboxes are, and just essentially how disbalanced Paladins is. They have been doing okay for themselves. It's an okay game, and it was on the right track. But this is the big change, is they're taking those card systems, the one unique aspect to this game, because in every other way, it's very similar to Overwatch. So they have this card system, and now they're making it essentially, before, debatably, it was pay to win. the before. I mean, you could kind of talk about how much grind it took. It was kind of grindy. You know, buy the champions, buy the cards, blah, blah, blah. But there was, it's debatable, okay? But with this, I think it's undebatable. It's undebatable because objectively, we have drawn the line at Battlefront 2. We saw Battlefront 2, and as a community, even though that's not an esport game, we just said, fuck that. Everybody said, fuck that. I made a whole new series, Nightly Gaming News, basically because there was so much news to talk about Battlefront. Something that I was so hyped to talk about, so excited, because it's like, guys, yeah, I've been talking about pay-to-win shit for 5 years. Hell yeah, we can finally talk about this. And yes, I was going to talk about Paladins beforehand, but oh my god, now. And I'm really relaying it to Battlefront 2 because it's actually very, very, very similar. In fact, it's a very similar concept to Clash Royale, just like maybe a little bit better, actually. So if you guys haven't played Clash Royale or Battlefront 2, or you have no idea how this new Paladin system is going to work, basically it's like, okay, in Paladins now, you're going to have all the cards. Awesome, that's great. That's the opposite of pay to win, is it not? You own all the cards now, which means you could do every single loadout, you could do all sorts of builds. Except now the cards have levels. And technically, the cards have had levels for a long time, but it worked in a totally different system. This way, it's like, okay, if you were to mirror matchup, and you were to fight somebody at your skill level, and he had level 5 cards, but you had level 1 cards, and it was the same loadout, same everything, no advantage, then who do you think's going to win? Who do you think is going to... Yeah, the guy with level 5 cards. And like I said, the card system inside of Paladins is incredibly impactful to the gameplay. So unless they make these cards basically worthless, then, you know, even then, even if most people don't actually feel the effects of it, then it's still technically pay to win. And you can say, well, it's free to play. It's free to play, you know, so there's an excuse. I don't care. You're making the game worse off than it needs to be. People are okay with spending money. We all buy Overwatch, basically. We all buy these games. Mostly, you know, people who are actually truly competitive and truly like innovative games will spend money on Overwatch. But when a game is like this, it's just not worth it, essentially. So anyways, you could say, well, okay, you can just grind. You can grind, you know, long enough you can unlock everything. But see, another reference here, Battlefront 2, no, that's not good enough. We already looked at Battlefront 2, and we said, no, a certain amount of grind, you know, if a tutorial, if it takes you longer than a week to unlock the base content, no, it's not worth it. You know, even MMOs, some of the most grindiest games you can think of, if you play it for a week straight, dude, you're going to get max level. You're going to start playing the end game, right? You're into the game. I mean, it's got to be an MMO that doesn't have a proper end game for it to take longer than a week of straight grinding. Maybe some older game like EverQuest, which doesn't really have end game. It's more like the whole game is. Yeah, anyways, that's a different story. But a competitive arena game, instanced game, every match is supposed to be completely fair. Then you're putting in a system that's not fair in the least. It is not fair. The old system, you could debate, well, you don't have every character, you don't have every card, so you're at a disadvantage. Maybe. Again, there's a debate, there's an argument for that, and I wanted to make a video on that. But now here I am, screaming with my Blue Yeti mic, screaming at my monitor, spitting everywhere, frothing at the mouth, basically, like saying this is pay to win. So yeah, you can eventually unlock everything, but that's not good enough. I mean, World of Tanks, we look at games like that, you know, we look at games like Hearthstone. It just gets to a point where it's like, no, this is seriously too grindy. And I don't care if some of the base loadouts are supposedly good and decent, and you know the best top 0.1% of players can climb up there to the master ranks. I don't care. It's still perverting the system. It's perverting the game. And players who are trying to learn the game and trying to become, like, you know, gaining that mastery of the game, they're not going to have a fun experience because every once in a while they will smack into a player who has just objectively better cards. This is why I completely stopped playing Clash Royale. Except for in Clash Royale, you have the added layer of you don't actually own all the cards. Yeah, you can run into people who have just like straight up, you don't have a single legendary, and they'll have a legendary and it'll just fucking wipe you out, dude. It'll just blow your mind. Luckily, at the last time I was playing the game, I got some legendaries and I was starting to have some fun. But it got to a point where I was playing people 3 levels higher than me, and like I would win often, but it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm still winning when I know that I'm only winning because I'm try-harding as hard as I possibly could, looking at the max strats. You know, I'm trying so hard just to keep up with other people who just have better cards than me. I'm not here to play that uphill, you know, play style. And some of you guys actually get off on that. I know. I actually see it in the comments below sometimes. You'll play games like Arcade or something like that. I know actually to an extent, I kind of played Albion Online like that, where it's fun to play that uphill, fight. It's like, oh yeah, I'm a free-to-play player, and I'm going to do the best gosh darn, that I can, this is despite the odds. Okay, Naruto, okay, Aster and Black Clover. I get you, I hear you, but we're not shonen freaking manga heroes, okay? We're not anime MCs. We're people. We're all equal. We're all the same. We're all on even footing, or that's the dream. We're supposed to be on all even footing when we get into these arenas, when it comes to competitive games, or just when it comes to instance games, okay? That's what it should be like. And even if it comes to MMOs or anything, open world games, I am completely against those pay to jump in early schemes or pay to, exponentially level up when it comes to PvP games. I mean, if it's a game like a co-op game like WildStar or something, it doesn't matter. Like it does. The real game's end game anyways. So as long as you're not paying to defeat the raid boss, I don't care. But in Paladins, the pay to win is if two players can start the game at the same time, which, climbing the ladder does matter. So new players generally going to be lower on the ladder. So if you join a match, and you're in bronze 3 or whatever, and you're fighting against another bronze 3, he doesn't like that he got put in bronze 3. He thinks it's because he has weak cards. So he goes and spends money, gets all max level cards, and now you're fighting someone who should be at your level, but it turns out he's just objectively stronger than you. You might lose that ranked game, and now you're going to go lower than maybe you should be, and he might actually go higher than where he should be. And this just fucking ruins the whole system. So if this goes in place in Paladins, I will make the biggest stink. I will not shut up about it, and I will expose Paladins for what it really is. I've played since the very beginning, and I know the true origins of Paladins as well, and I promise you it's not as ancient as Hi-Rez wants you to know it either. Paladins, you know what, we're not even going to go into this, but I'm just going to tell you there's a reason Paladins is still in beta, and there's definitely a reason why they keep, really testing the waters with these sort of systems. So I'm going to end cap the video here, and yes, this is the only story I'm talking about, but I have one last thing to say. One last thing, hopefully you guys are still listening, but I really hope you guys take this to heart. So Paladins is a game that is very experimental, and I'm not here to completely hate on Paladins, because I've done lots of content for it, I like the game, it's cool, but here's where I really don't like Hi-Rez, specifically, is Hi-Rez has this habit of doing this thing, at least with Paladins, okay? They kind of learned their lessons from Smite. Apparently, not making enough money from Smite. And they learned the lessons from Tribes Ascend, where, again, they didn't make enough money, but for opposite reasons. In Smite, they made a really clean system, okay? You spend like 20 or something bucks, you get all the gods. A really clean monetization system. Not really much room for modular additions to the game. And same thing with Tribes, except they made it horribly pay to win and nobody really liked it. It kind of ruined the game. But Smite's doing great, isn't it? Smite's a great game. But here's the reason why Paladins is so different from Smite. And that's because they didn't implement these modular systems. They didn't implement the tug of war. So please listen to what I'm about to say, because a lot of companies are doing this right now, especially Battlefront 2. So what these guys do is they add these systems. And what these systems do is they do all these weird kind of non-straightforward monetization schemes, like, RNG loot boxes that affect progression. But at the same time, the card system is integral to what makes Paladins cool, so you can't just completely refute it. So they have all these, these tentacles that reach around and permeate the game, which in a way makes the game, but of course they're infected by the monetization. And what these companies do is they poke and prod and see how much money they can squeeze out of you. They're seeing how grindy they can make the game. And with Paladins specifically, they've really tried to see how much they can make the game grindy. And it was to the point where the community completely lashed out and said, okay, this is too grindy. And then they made it less grindy. But they never took away those systems. They never took away the entire systems that are actually the true cancer. That's the problem here, is these guys are implementing these systems, and at first they might be harsh, and then the community's like, hey, this is bad, and then they listen to the community, bunny ears. They're listening to the community. They want what's best for the game. They want what's best for the whole community. They want everyone to be having fun. No, they want as much money as possible. So what you need to do is you need to shut up and say that, okay, just because it's free to play doesn't mean this is my only option. You have options. There are other games out there. There are better games out there, especially Overwatch. If you want a competitive game, Overwatch is the game. Even if you just want a casual game, dude, Paladins, with this system, do you really want to get just smacked constantly by better players? Not just better players, but I mean like objectively they're stronger players. So do you want to really try a game like this and just get smacked around? Overwatch is so much more fair, so much more of engaging experience when it comes to playing people on your skill level. So do you really want that? And do you want a company, Hi-Rez, that is going to keep adding on these systems, just filling it with RNG, like changing around the entire mechanics of the game, changing around the entire balance of the game? People who don't care actually about the game, the actual game, they just care about the cash shop that the game facilitates. Do you really want to support that? So for me, I will not be doing any more Paladins giveaways. I will not be doing any more Paladins videos. I will not be promoting Paladins. I will not be talking about Paladins unless it is going to be talking about this news specifically until this is completely changed. I don't care about Paladins anymore. I don't care if the devs go hungry. I don't care if the server shut down. No consumer should. No consumer should care about anything other than having fun and playing their game. You know, that's what consumers do. You consume. Your money, your time, how it's spent, that's up to you. You don't have to care about this company, and you shouldn't, because obviously they don't really care about you and your experience in the game. They want to have, you know, that touch and go. Okay, well, how uncomfortable can we make you and, you know, get as much money as possible? That's what they care about. Please know that. So, what are your thoughts and feelings on this, my friends? Let me know, okay? I'm out. Good night.